All right, welcome back. Scissortail Podcast, episode 17. We're live once again. It's truly we this time. Thanks for joining us. You've got both co-hosts this time. Porter Cunningham, joined as always by my good friend Will Bowersocks. Will, say hello to the people.
Still nursing my episode 16 hangover from the 16 shots that I took.
Yes. I did mention during the episode, I don't know if you caught it, Will.
Oh, I caught it.
That we were driving, albeit with some restrictions.
I never miss an episode, Porter.
I know you don't. Because nobody likes listening to us more than ourselves.
Correct.
That's why we did this, right?
Some people will think that editing a podcast is burdensome. I think it's just a chance to listen to myself talk, which is amazing.
Right. So
I will say, just so everyone knows the tone of the podcast today, freaking tough sports weekend.
What a
here.
Terrible sports
Unless
weekend.
you like women's college softball, which
I'm good with.
I don't dislike.
I love
but
it.
It wasn't the headliner sporting event for me.
Yeah. So, as I said, we're back live again. We're at McNally's Midtown. It's just us right now, but we fully expect some throws of Rayo Red Army supporters to be coming in, knocking the door down any minute now. We're all here.
You got to watch out for those podcast groupies.
That's right. The podcast groupies will be here, no doubt. I wanted to mention real quickly a huge thank you, as always, to our host sponsor, McNally's Midtown, and some of their specials that they've got going on. Coming up, I guess I should say, tomorrow is Memorial Day, as we record on this Sunday, and McNally's will be closed tomorrow. That means no pint night tomorrow night, which is the typical Monday 5 p.m. pint night. But they will have this week the Beer Geek special, which is going to be the Van Steenberg Pierrot Triple Hop for $6.
Just like to compliment you on your pronunciation there.
Thank you. I noticed you did not order that beer this evening.
No, in keeping with the cliche of hosting a soccer podcast, I'm drinking a Guinness.
Okay. All right, me too. So I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
And also the June special for McNally's coming up, so that'll start here in just a couple of days. It'll be June 1st. Oh, God, I cannot pronounce this one. You want to give that one a shot?
Weissen Stapana?
The Festbier, yeah?
It's $2.75.
It's $2.75.
So it's probably like the PBR of Germany.
Yeah, that's okay, but it's German. Auf Deutsch.
I will look forward to ordering that next time.
All right, so, again, huge thank you to McNally's for having us out.
All right, let's jump in. All
right, let's get started. So, first segment, I've changed this first, what we talk about first. Instead of corrections, it's now corrections/signings/releases, because we actually have one of those to talk about.
We have those now.
So, a surprising release this week, don't you think?
Yes, very much so. So, break it down for us, Porter. What happened?
Ryan Johnson got released this week. The first goal scorer in the history of the club released at a time when you might say, even before the Cosmos game.
A little thin on depth.
Extremely thin on depth. So
there were, okay, it's not surprising, right? I mean, there were rumors coming out through the course of last week that we were shopping Samaras. If you really read into Marcinus' quotes after a recent game, he was talking about people needing to step up. And honestly, I wasn't there. It's hard to say, but maybe people misread the Samaras shopping thing. They just heard big name striker and assumed Samaras. Maybe maybe RJ was the guy. And I don't know what happened. I mean, but he's gone.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
Former Rayo great Ryan Johnson.
I don't know if it was off the field stuff. I mean, I can't. He started the first couple of games.
Yeah.
And then he played not great, but was anybody playing great? I mean, have we seen anybody play with flashes of brilliance?
Right.
Even? Whatever. He's gone now, so we'll see. Surely they'll be looking to pick at least one, if not a couple of guys up in the summer transfer window. In between seasons.
To be fair, according to the Daily Oklahoman's Chris Brannick, dead-eye soccer journalist that he is, told us that his contract, Ryan Johnson's contract, is only valid through the end of June. So this is probably them just preempting they weren't going to re-sign him. So
yeah, but that almost brings more questions than answers, because why not keep him on for 3 more games?
I mean,
if he's just going to be for the rest of the season.
Maybe the courteous thing is let the guy get started on finding his next home.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right, so moving on to results. As we said, what a crap sports weekend, including the Rayo game. Lost 1-0 against the hated New York Cosmos. Truly hated. I mean, we joke about that, but now I see why everybody hates the Cosmos, right?
Tell me why.
I mean, you can't even hardly see what's going on in the TV feed because their field has every line for every sport played on a field known to man.
Right. That must be a thing in New York. They've got the NYCFC game on behind us.
Yeah.
And
playing soccer in crap stadiums is a New York thing.
Yeah. I believe that's the house that...
Yogi Berra built?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, correct.
Frank Lampard built?
Yeah, exactly. Next to screwed.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about it here in a minute, but things we liked, things we didn't like.
I liked that I was spared from having to watch that.
You liked that you were at the Thunder game
which I
didn't
like at all.
Watching that, not a beatdown, but that letdown.
I think the word you're looking for is meltdown of epic proportions,
yeah.
But this is not an NBA-themed podcast, so we won't go there.
All right, things I liked. I liked the fact that Ian started, which we'll obviously see a lot more of over the next few games.
Yep.
Due to
depth.
Various issues. Other things I liked, Tyler Gibson got good minutes. He subbed on for Ian, actually. And then, even though we lost by a goal, down to 8 men. And as we watched in the highlights, you could very seriously, I think there's an argument to be made that it should have been 1-1 at full time. So...
Going down to 8 men is comical. Like, that doesn't happen. Then if we had one more red card, we would have had to disband the game.
Yeah, it would have been a 3-0 forfeit.
Yeah.
By FIFA regulations, right? Things we didn't like. As I said, the field.
Right.
The field at Hofstra is pretty awful. I can see why they're trying to get out of there. Not only is it a 2-hour commute from...
It's not close.
From New York City proper. And then obviously the officiating. So we'll talk more about it in depth. Probably. I don't know. You know what? Let's go into it right now. Let's do it right now before we get into tech talk.
Okay. I mean, just watching the highlights. So you can find those pretty easily if you want to go back and find them. But sometimes you see a referee who, I guess the last thing you want to see is a referee who loses control of the game. And so sometimes it's nice to see a referee get a yellow card out of his pocket early, set a tone of I'm the boss. But that goes both ways. This guy, I don't know what he saw. It took things too far and get in the shell. I thought a not deserved red card whatsoever. Not to mention the fact that Michel had just been taken down not too much before that, and that wasn't even carded in a very aggressive tackle.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Michel thing was he was pissed about the no call that on that tackle that you just mentioned, where he pretty much got hacked on the side of the knee. It was obviously very painful. And then, I guess the argument you make for that being a red card is he came in studs up, left his feet, came in studs up, and made contact. But I just don't see that early in the game, keeper or not, on any player, that being a straight red.
Yeah.
So, what about the other 2 reds? Any comment on that? The Billy Forbes, for me, it was tough to tell.
The angle makes it really hard, but... Typically, you don't see a guy throw an elbow and then act really surprised and try to pick the guy up and have an incredulous look on his face when he did it on purpose. I mean, lots of soccer players are actors, but no one's that good of an actor.
So I'm sure those 2 will be appealed.
The Samara's second yellow card, that was tragic.
Dude, that was incredibly weak, and that was pretty much the narrative of the whole game. The Cosmos players need to hit the weight room or something, because it's like that's the epitome of the criticism of soccer players, right? As you blow on them and they fall over, and that was really, really weak. I think for the player to go down and for the second yellow to come out. His first yellow was really weak too. So yeah, just
disappointing all the way around. I guess this is loser talk, but I guess one silver lining is if it wasn't for a potentially controversial offsides call, there was a chance for Rayo to rescue the draw.
Yeah, and I can see that. That was probably the most fair call of those 4, of the 3 red cards and the offside, the phantom offside.
The least arguable.
I mean, Footy came from an offside position and he tried to make a play on the ball, whether he touched it or not. He did influence the play, right? He drew in.
I think I would have had my
defenders.
flag up if I were the guy.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
So I'm okay with that. But here's the kicker. I mean, everyone wants to crown the Cosmos, right? They only beat what I would call now an average team in the NASL. They're below average on paper, right?
In the standings.
Yeah, in standings. 1-0 when they were down to 8 men. So, and it could have been 1-1. So whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just kind of put a pin in that. We'll come back and do a brief tech talk and talk through the tactics. Obviously, those got wrecked by the red cards, but we'll talk through what we saw and maybe look ahead to some upcoming matches on the slate. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Scissortail Podcast, episode 17. We're back.
You know what that sound means? That famous arpeggio.
Great sound. It's time for Tech Talk.
No, that's not a robot that we have on set. Those are home-crafted beats. By home-crafted, I most certainly mean made in Cupertino.
Yeah. Your synthesizer is really taking up most of the table here. It doesn't leave me a whole lot of room for my Guinness. I'm going to have to put my beer on your synthesizer. Hopefully it doesn't spill and short it out.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, we'd lose our Tech Talk sounds.
Jumping in, obviously I'm at a disadvantage here.
Yeah, second game in a row that you've not viewed. I'm really slacking on this whole
I had every intention of
podcast.
I know, I feel bad.
4-3-3, and for what we saw, it was going to be more of the same, or at least what we saw up until going down to 10 men, it was going to be more of the same. There were only two good chances for Billy Forbes. Both of them, the first one came off of pretty much an individual effort along the left side. From a tough angle, he drew a shot wide. The second one was a layoff from Samaras, but other than that, it was more the same in terms of sit back, let the home team hold possession and try to get a goal on a counter. So,
there's some pretty outlandish possession and passing stats. Why don't you let us know?
Oh yeah,
pull up that tab.
I wanted to try to not talk about him, but if you go to the OptiJack general play, 75% possession to New York.
Which obviously a lot of that's influenced by having 8 players on the field, but honestly, from what we've seen in previous games, that number is not going to be a whole lot lower based on what we've seen from the style of play.
518 total passes for New York to 170 total passes for RayoOKC.
And not to mention that more than a third of Rayo's passes were long balls.
Yeah, which I guess is, if you're trying to play counter-attacking soccer, that's pretty much what you're going to do, right?
I guess so, man. I guess so.
So I'm pretty much.
But go back though, because I mean, it was not a good game. Like, passing accuracy is 60%, so 46%. Pardon me. No, so passing accuracy 60%. Yeah, that's just not positive. So that definitely some things to get cleaned up even before you account for the red cards.
So I'm not sure. Okay, never mind. I was misreading it. Anyways, I'm pretty much not talking about that. I didn't even want to talk about their goal. I mean, it was inevitable. It was
just
coming.
Kind of a slop goal, right? I mean, well, no, let's talk about it because second game in a row that it's happened.
Yeah, that's right. I did tweet about it and I think Koske is one of the best players on our team.
Yeah,
he's consistent.
Consistent is a good word.
He's consistent. He's a great defender. But this is the second game in a row where a goal was conceded through the air by the man that he's marking, beating him to the back post. So he's losing the position battle, I guess I should say, in the 6-yard box nonetheless, or near the 6, between the penalty marker and the 6-yard box.
So you mentioned position battle. Is he a step slow?
I don't know. It's tough to tell, and I need to do a better job of watching it, I guess, because by the time I see what's happening, I don't know if the guy's cut in on him and he, is afraid to put a shoulder into him, unless he give up a penalty.
Unfortunately, the camera angles were jumping around, so it's really hard to get a consistent view and have reference points, because your midfield camera is at a certain height and angle. Your other cameras are at different heights, so it makes it really hard to get a concrete point of reference when you're watching. But anyway, happened again. At least we get a goal off a corner. I guess that's progress. No set piece goals. Let's kind of talk now injury update. So we got 2 matches ahead this week.
Yeah, 2-match week.
So already team might be a little thin from a depth standpoint. Who do we know is out? Who's going to be on the mend? Who's available?
So we know that at the start of the broadcast, the only name they had out not training with the team was Robbie Finley, which we suspected, right? We suspected he's gone for the rest of the spring season. But they did show everybody else that's injured was at least training with the team. So that included Pekka, Marvin Chavez, Sebastian Velasquez, which is kind of surprising.
Good.
And then Hugo Rhodes actually was even mentioned on there. So we haven't seen him, but that might become an interesting point this weekend when we get into our preview of Minnesota United. It's going to be a really thin lineup, with all the disqualifications, which we'll talk about in that segment. So, but those guys are the only ones who might not be fit to play for Wednesday. So, obviously, Wednesday U.S. Open Cup match, different competition. So anybody disqualified from the game
can still play
this
on
weekend
Wednesday.
can still play on Wednesday. So that would include Michelle, Billy Forbes, Giorgio Samaras, and Derek Boateng, who will be disqualified from you're suspended, I should say, from the next NASL match for accumulation of yellow cards. And that's all I have about that. I'm done talking about that game.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. So,
Yeah.
let's put a pin in that as well. I think everyone wants to hear us talk about the upcoming Crosstown Cup match against truly hated rival Energy FC, and we will come back and discuss. So stay with us.
All right, Scissortail Podcast, episode 17. We're back. We're previewing 2 matches this week, the first of which we're going to talk about right now. Wednesday, June 1st, the first ever OKC Derby, U.S. Open Cup, round 3.
Wait, Rayo's playing the Energy this week?
Yeah,
I didn't
know.
hear about that.
I bet you had no idea.
That's news to me.
So this is the part of the podcast where we would have dropped in some audio of a crossover episode with our counterparts over at Jimmy's Army Podcast, but due to outside circumstances, they retracted their invitation for us to come on their podcast.
They retracted their acceptance of our invitation to join our
That's right.
podcast.
That's
the
right.
right way to say that.
So we worked with them, or we were working with them. We invited them to do a crossover episode. We were going to go down to their home turf since the team is coming out to Yukon and do a little crossover episode, something that we could put 1-to-1 on ours and theirs.
So this begs the question: Why did they do such a thing?
Well, the exact message I got was they don't want anything to do with anybody from Rayo right now, which I don't know if they think we work for the team or what, but yeah.
Does that seem a little misguided to you?
A little bit. I think it's a little bit...
Moral soapboxing, right?
Yeah.
Very kind of self-righteous.
yeah. But
Par
whatever.
for the course, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about the game anyways. We'll talk about it on our own, and unfortunately...
Not to bury the lead or anything
Yeah.
by saying all of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we can talk about the game, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there, too. That, like, no matter what happens, the narrative is going to be that Energy won. Like, if Rayo actually wins the game, I promise you the narrative is going to be Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, I don't think there's any score that can be enough for RayoOKC to be the outright victor on and off the field.
Completely agree. But honestly, I mean, even before we talk about that in more detail, like the recent form it concerns me. I think if you're looking at the table, I don't think the Energy is like having a very impressive season in the USL. But
They started slow, but
they started slow. Now they're playing pretty well. They certainly have some quality players on their team. So Danny Koenig, Kalen Ryden, Sebastian Dalgar. I've actually been impressed with their keeper quite a bit as well.
Yeah, he settled in because he had
Cody Laurendi is how you say his name?
Yeah.
He's got pretty sweet hair.
Yeah, he's got a big old beard and a man bun, but I think they dropped a couple of points because of him earlier in the season, or at least that was an argument, is because he was making some questionable decisions to come off his line early, but he seems to have settled in, and I assume we'll see him on Wednesday. They're not, nobody's going to trot a cup team out there for this game. So.
No, for sure not. I mean, I don't know that the players have been like subtweeting each other and sniping at each other, and I imagine that some of those guys know each other and respect each other. But
Kalen Ryden is from Oklahoma City, and he actually did tweet about the whole ticket gate, which we'll get to in a second.
Okay, well, I guess I take all that back. But
I mean, he's not tweeting about RayoOKC players, but I'm sure that some of these players are now that have been with the team. This is their third year with the team or whatever, been here long enough, and especially if they're from Oklahoma City like he is, it means a lot more.
Well,
to him.
No matter which manager you are, your pre-match motivational pitch, your motivational talk is going to come down to we're getting disrespected by these people on the other side. So go out and put them in their place. Both managers will be saying that.
Let me step onto a RayoOKC soapbox for a second.
That's what this podcast is for.
If you're Derek Boateng, what are your thoughts about people seriously considering the fact that a bunch of third-tier American players, after everywhere you've been and everything you've done in your career, you're Giorgio Samers, you scored a goal in a World Cup. Shouldn't that just fire you up that you just want to go out and stomp these guys? Or do you care? Or is it just another game to you? I mean, that's what I think. That's my personal homerist opinion on it is.
Well, I'm just guessing that the first edition of the Crosstown Cup is going to look and feel a lot different than any of the Glasgow derbies that Samers was a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say. I really don't know. I think that if you're a professional athlete and you need to feel, I think you should be able to get yourself up for a match, and then anything else is icing on the cake. I mean, speaking for myself, if I'm Derek Boateng, I'm thinking like I'm going to dominate this game and F anybody that thinks they can hang with me, and let's go get it on.
Honestly, I don't think that mindset for him, he was probably a bad example to use because I don't think that mindset ever changes for him.
He's a bad man.
I mean, he's awesome. So, and I saw somebody tweet that all of his yellow cards should have been reds or something. Another NSL,
of course.
Like, okay, whatever. Sorry that he's not on your team because if he was, you would love him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ticket gate.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Here's the last thing that I want to know is, do we come out in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1? Because I think that's going to dictate a lot. If you told me today which formation, that would go a long way to influencing how I think the game is going to be played and like who will win.
We haven't seen the 4-2-3-1 since the first game of the season, though.
No, we saw it against Carolina.
The second game of the season, then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much settled into the 4-3-3, even with the different pieces that come in. So, no Moses Hernandez this week, and then none of the injured guys probably. So,
and Moses is out on international duty.
Right. So he tweeted today that he was flying to Guatemala.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, anyway,
Guatemala? He's Guatemalan, right?
Honduran?
I
think it's Guatemalan.
Okay. Yeah.
If we're wrong, we'll tee that for corrections next week. But
okay, ticket gate. What's your thoughts?
Well, first, let's talk about what actually happened. Since one thing that I want our podcast to be as much as possible is be an objective source of truth. So, knowing what we know, how would we narrate the events of quote-unquote ticket gate?
Okay, so here's what I heard. The president of the grid called the RayoOKC ticket office the day after, some short time after they beat Mississippi Bria. Said, we would like to work with you to do a group ticket buy. At least 100, possibly more tickets together.
Can I interject?
Yes.
And I can say factually that prior to that phone call, there had been no entertainment of a group ticket, a block ticket section. Like, there had been like press releases by RayoOKC saying like, we don't plan on making like group buys available. So this guy, whether he knew that or not, like he called and had this conversation.
Right. So he worked with someone at the front office and
convinced them.
Well, yeah, I don't think there was any convincing needed. I think it was just more of a handshake agreement that we're going to sell you guys, we're going to pre-sell you basically because they weren't even on sale yet. We're going to agree to give you 100 tickets before they ever go on sale, which is pretty exemplary, right? under the assumption that this is a good faith thing, so let's kind of keep the banter witty or however you want to put it. I don't know what exactly was said there, but all I know is that
I don't think that I don't know, but I don't think that as part of that transaction they said don't rip us on social media.
Right, certainly they didn't, but whatever was said there, it was enough that when the Grid went and posted the ticket sale option on their website with all the fun facts and everything. The person I talked to felt betrayed, and they felt like specifically the president of the Grid that they talked to was two-faced and had completely was just only putting on a show and wasn't really being a nice person to work with and was completely doing it just to weasel their way in. That was how they felt. So, knowing that, what happened?
Well, the Rayo's front office basically released a statement saying that they were revoking the group ticket access, I believe based on the social media comments and just the general tone of the Grid and their approach towards their relationship with RayoOKC. And so they released that on Twitter. Obviously, the internet broke. And there are a lot of hot takes being thrown around. I think there's a lot of misinformation. I think some people were like, okay, this is a way to prevent hooliganism happening. And this is a week after the Hudson River Derby where there were fights. There's I think that narrative is misguided. There are some people who think that the rights of soccer supporters in America has been infringed. I mean, that's not a narrative that I buy into, but
I don't think nowhere does it say in the Constitution that away fans should have the right to purchase tickets for an away game.
If you said privilege, I would entertain the conversation, but right, I would not. But I mean, look, is it distasteful to me based on my concept of soccer? Absolutely. Do I understand why it happened? I do. I mean, I kind of think Rayo did it and was like, you want to have banter, let's one up you and
chat shit, get banned.
Yeah,
from buying tickets.
What is the 50 Cent quote? We used to yell at each other in high school. If you have a glass jaw, I'm gonna break your mouth, or something like that. If you want to live in a glass house, I'm gonna break your jaw. I mean, people are acting like we can't. Rayo can't take banter. You just got one upped,
and I think it's more than the fun facts. Also, it's just an accumulation of, and just like we said, the narrative has always been from everybody. It's just an accumulation of everything that's been said since the inception of the club.
Now let me ask you a question, because that will also answer. Would you have done it if you were the Rayo front office?
No.
Me neither. And I just don't think there's any way that it looks terrible. Speaking of cliches, it's the classic cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. The problem is I can agree with both sides of it.
Right.
I can agree with not doing it and just continuing on, but at the same time it's done, and that's their prerogative to do that. And everyone can still go to the game. And I agree with you. You put away supporters together for their safety. This is not the Stadia Azteca, okay? These are our Oklahoma neighbors, okay? Yeah. We're all going to sit here and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and talk about the Oklahoma Standard 3 months ago. Don't bullshit me and say that we have to buy tickets together as a block.
But I've seen Green Street hooligans. This is how it is in Europe.
Yeah, and leave your faux hooliganism at home. Yeah. And it was exactly that. It was a privilege for them to buy tickets so that they didn't have to individually go to the RayoOKC ticket office. They could go to their Grid webpage and buy the tickets there and pick them up from Grid people, either at Skinny Slim's the day of the game or before the game at the ticket office. They could reserve their seat without having to do it through the individually through the RayoOKC ticket office. So, yeah, I can see it both ways.
I can see it both ways for sure. Again, I just don't see. Look. This is just one kind of sub-bullet point in the broader narrative that, no matter what happens, it's going to come across that the energy won the game. And I can see the newspaper article now, on Thursday morning, where Chris Brannick, the soccer journalist, is going to write like in his attendance commentary, like, despite the Rayo front office's controversial move to like blah 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 outlaw group tickets, there were still thousands of Energy fans wearing green. Like, he's just going to say that.
There will be.
Yeah.
There will be. I mean,
and I'd probably write it too. It's an easy sentence to write. So anyway, so let's talk about predictions for the game and scores.
Man, I don't know.
If only there was another podcast that had insight into the Energy that we could talk to and have an objective conversation about football.
It's just, like, as I say, on paper, Rayo should wreck the Energy.
Should they? I feel like on paper right now we're pretty thin.
We are, but even our, the trial. There are some trialists with Rayo that used to play for the Energy. So if that's your trialist, they don't even sign to an official contract. They're getting daily wages or whatever.
I'm taking the Energy 2-1.
Bold.
Yeah, it is bold. I think on that last Cosmos interview that I did, I said like 3-1 Rayo, but just given my general like sentiment right now towards sports,
it would fit the narrative of the last week.
I'm taking Energy 2-1.
I'm not going to make a selection. Is that okay? Can I do that?
No, you can't.
I think it'll be 3-1 Rayo.
All right.
I think it's 1-0 Rayo. The Energy equalizes off of some kind of bullshit play. And then Rayo scores a late goal to seal it.
I think that the Energy will try to muck up the game as much as possible.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Next week, I believe McNally's is going to be serving a crow burger that at least one of us will be eating.
Indeed. One of us will be eating a crow burger next week. So.
All right. Well, let's now shift towards previewing Minnesota United. Is this a new section, or should we just flow into it?
Let's just flow into it. This is our first 2-game week, so we'll just do it live, I guess.
Yeah.
So right. Minnesota United back to league play on Saturday. It's the last home game of the spring season. 7:00 Saturday, June 4th at Miller Stadium. Manchester United. I have MNUFC on there, so sorry. Minnesota United, near the top of the table. I don't know exactly where they are right now. If the Cosmos
never heard of them.
Yeah. If the Cosmos win, they'll win the spring season, but Minnesota United is still in a very good spot. They're headed to the MLS in the near future. Everyone says 2017, but it depends on when their new stadium's done. Christian Ramirez is one of their good players. Lance Lang is a great player.
Who's the guy that had that wonder goal in week 1?
Christian Ramirez, I believe, was him.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we're going to be super thin on the lineup, so it's hard to see how Rayo pulls out a win now, unless for some reason Minnesota United is like dangerously susceptible to. Like a 4-3-3 that Rayo is going to set up on the break,
It's going to be really ugly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be. Speaking of the Energy mucking up the game, Rayo will do the exact same thing against Minnesota.
They have to, because the worst case scenario, if they don't sign anyone between now and Saturday, the worst case scenario has 2 subs, one of them being the backup goalkeeper.
So you're saying this is our chance to
look, man?
Our master plan.
I've already texted my contact at the club and said we're available if we just need to put on a kit and sit on the bench and sign for a
dude. I would do that in a heartbeat.
We'll see.
I would pay the club for that.
You would pay for that.
Yeah.
They should offer that as an experience. You can pay and sit on the bench with a team.
That's amazing. Par for the course for us. This is the first time we've ever seen Minnesota, so don't have a lot to really add.
We'll send out a lineup again this week. I did that just the other day because I was bored at work, but on my super high tech lineup generator.
I like that.
So I'll do that again, and I'll especially after we hear, because the team has 24 hours from last night to appeal the straight reds.
Right.
So I'm sure they will appeal all 3 of them if possible, because they need the players. So we'll see by tonight or tomorrow. We should know if any of those disqualified players are going to be available on Saturday. Once we know that, then we'll put together a projected 11, and we'll see how ugly it's going to be.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Running a little long here, so we will take a quick break. We will come back and have free talk. We will talk about what is on our minds. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, episode 17, Scissortail Podcast, live from McNelly's. Real quickly, one more time, just wanted to give a big thanks to McNelly's for hosting us. Come check them out, not on Memorial Day because they'll be closed, but this week, May 30th to June 6th, Beer Geek Special for $6 is the Von Steenberg P-Rock Triple Hop. And all the month of June, as Will so eloquently put it, the Weinsteibenfahner Fest Beer.
The Max Weizenhofer Fest Beer.
Exactly. That's pretty much what it looks like. It's $2.75. So I think you coined it, what, the PBR of Germany? So
it has to be.
Come out and have the PBR of Germany for $2.75. Anyways, free talk segment. We got a question. I'm going to read it.
Okay.
We did get one question on Twitter. I'm going to read it and let you answer it, and then I'll provide my commentary.
All right.
This came from Tobias the Monkey. So somehow, again, he used his sock puppet nubs to type a 3-tweet question.
Yeah, he's freaking writing novels right here.
Tobias the Monkey. Serious 3-tweet question. With the ref throwing red cards around like Hallmark on Valentine's Day, and in light of the repeated "some people need to step up" comments from the coach last week, was this just a bad ref, or people over-enthusiastically, nervously playing for their jobs?
Well, for starters, I kind of took "some people need to step up" as directed towards me, because I've missed the last 2 games. But
you do need to step up. That's no lie.
Okay, here are my thoughts. So there were some rumors going around that we were shopping Samaras, and with us releasing Ryan Johnson, it's clear that is not. It wouldn't make sense for us to be shopping Samaras. So maybe what actually happened is, if you read between the tea leaves, a rumor that we were shopping a big name forward got out, or that we were going to release a big name forward, and people heard big name forward and thought Samaras, and in reality it was Ryan Johnson, right? But today, it's hard to say, right? Because Michel got his red early, and the ref basically kind of threw a giant wrench into whatever the natural flow of the game would have been, and was over aggressive on his discipline. But Samaras got the armband, the captain's armband. So I think if some people needed to step up, they have since not stepped up and been let go. And I just think I'm rambling, right? But to close my thought down, I don't think anybody was playing for their job, because before this game the guy was released, and so the guy that everyone was pointing to got the captain's armband, and with the ref throwing a wrench into it, it's really hard to say.
Yeah, I think you could say. I think you could easily say that guys were playing for their jobs.
Well, that's any week in professional sports, right?
And if nothing else, the Ryan Johnson release showed that we're not afraid to release a player, a month early from his contract being up. So we don't know how many other guys are on June contract endings.
Seth, do you want to say what's up?
What's up?
Now get in close. You gotta get in close.
So Seth has been taking care of us tonight.
Actually, Seth, will you pronounce this beer?
Exactly.
Weinsteibenfahner.
All right,
Weinsteibenfahner.
just like I said, Max Weizenhofer.
Our hypothesis is that is the PBR of Germany.
Yeah, no, it totally
It is.
is.
Yeah. All right.
No, it totally is.
All right.
we'll
So
try it next time.
when you come on Memorial Day,
not on Memorial Day. Come not on Memorial Day.
Ask for Seth. That guy's awesome.
Anyways, we released Ryan Johnson. So now, what's that say to any of the other players that are underperforming? We're not afraid to cut your ass, right?
Well, but even though maybe they just knew that we weren't going to re-sign the guy, we wanted to give him a couple of weeks to figure out his next landing spot, out of courtesy. So, and honestly, if I'm a player and I'm I can read the tea leaves, we have very little depth, I'm not super worried. But I don't think that's your motivation as a professional athlete in the first place.
So to answer the question about the 3 Reds, I don't see any of those 3 as reckless or playing nervously necessarily. I think the Michelle one was probably pissed off from, as we said, from the no call earlier, and that's a great hustle play. I'm okay with that. You know, I don't want, especially on the road. You know, apply some pressure, try to make something happen. The Samaras red card just shouldn't have happened. I mean, he was tracking back, and the guy cut right in front of him. I mean, what do you want him to do? And then the Forbes red card, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. I think that's frustration overall from the game. Probably frustration, built up frustration from the whole season. You know, the season's not turned out like Billy wanted it to.
So far,
he's got one goal in the season, right? He's probably expecting more than that. So,
well, good question. Anything
Great
else?
question.
Anything else to discuss?
We're gonna have a huge episode next week after 2 home games. So one of us is gonna be eating crow. I'm good to call it here.
Last prediction. How many members of the media will be in the press box?
I think the press box will be full. Should be.
So the average is going to jump up from 2 on our side of the press box to what, like
8?
8?
Yeah. I would assume that all the local news 4, 5, and 9 will be there. Fox 25 should be there.
Yeah.
Telendo's always there but they're on the other side of the press box.
So that is an average. That's another over/under we'll track, and I think it'll be hilarious. Like in the post game, all of these like people that hadn't been coming will come in with a bunch of hot sports takes, questions. I'm just curious to see how that plays out.
We should just make sure that we sit front and center like we always do.
Hey, you're in my seat.
And and make sure that we raise our hands, and so Alan picks us because he knows us.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Show him up. Give him the elbow. You got to give elbows when you're down in the paint, right?
That's
Come
right.
down with that ball.
Don't come to the rim weak. Go strong to the rim.
No easy buckets.
If you live in a glass jaw, I'll break your. If you if you have a glass jaw, I'll break your mouth. Okay.
Get rich or die trying.
That is young Caesar. All right, yeah. So thank you for listening. Sorry it's a little long. Hopefully the audio quality is good. And say no to plumber's butt. See you next week.